So I'm going to explain about the automatic irrigation system. In that, we are going to discuss about the introduction about automation and the block diagram of the automation irrigation system and the power supply that is going to be give some electrical signals to your automation. Power supply is very, very important. Without giving any supply to the automation system, it doesn't respond. That's why power supply is an important one. And next one is we are going to discuss about the real-time sensors. And then after that, we are going to discuss about the microcontroller. Microcontroller is the core of our automation. It is like a heart in our in the human body. Why? Because it get interface with the sensors and power supplies and output, load, all those things. So it can give the command and respond based on the sensor values and give the commands to the output load. So it can act as a core in the automation system. So it is very, very important one. And next is how to interface it, nothing but how to interface the sensor and the load with the microcontroller. That concept should be explained in this interfacing topic. And software module, you have to write some coding. Okay, coding is somewhat equivalent to our soul. Without soul, our human body is nothing. Okay, whatever may be, the heart is present, brain is also present in the human body. Without soul, nothing can do their work. Okay, so here also you're supposed to write some coding like C, C++, Java, Oracle, .NET, all those things. And those coding must be embedded inside the microcontroller. Based on the coding only, the microcontroller can respond with the output. Initially, the microcontroller get the values from the sensor. The sensor value is manipulated in the coding. So the coding gives some command to the microcontroller. So based on the coding, microcontroller responds to the load. Okay. And next one is we are going to discuss about the advantages. What is the advantages? Why we go for automation? What is the need of automation in irrigation system? So we have to discuss all those things in this advantages topic. Last one is we have to analyze a real-time implementation. How a timer-based sensor is implemented in the irrigation system. How a timer-based sensor is interfaced with the microcontroller, and how the microcontroller can control a load. A load means load in the sense means a valve or a motor that should be used in the used in your irrigation system. So we are going to discuss all those things. I think I already discussed about the introduction and block diagram and power supply and power supply. Once again, I can recall all those things. So why we need automation? Automation reduces the human burden. Okay, without the intervention of human, automation system can control the process or a task. Okay, next is these are some of the examples of automation which is implemented in the irrigation system. Soil moisture based irrigation system. The soil moisture level go above the threshold level means we have to give some command to the motor or anything else. Okay, and timer based irrigation system and drip irrigation system and sprinkle irrigation system. So these are some of the examples of automation is implemented in the irrigation systems. And this is the overall block diagram of automation. So automation comprises four things. One is power supply, sensor, microcontroller, output system. Already told you the power supply is used to give some electrical signals to the microcontroller, and the sensor can send some values or parameters. Those parameters should be in analog values. The analog value can be converted. The analog value can be given as input to the controller. The controller can accept only the digital signals, so the analog value can be converted into digital signal by the microcontroller itself. Inside the microcontroller, we have analog to digital converter. You should be very clear in the concept. Sensor sends the physical parameter. For example, if I'm using a pressure sensor, means definitely it can measure the pressure of a particular environment. Okay, it can measure the pressure and give those pressure value in analog format to the microcontroller. But the microcontroller can read the values only. It should be in the digital form. So the microcontroller have the capacity to convert the analog signal into digital signal. Inside the microcontroller, there are several components present. Among one of the component, analog to digital converter is also present. Okay, so it gets the sensitive value. Then you have to write some coding by using some softwares. and you have to interface that software with the microcontroller by using some USB cables. Where we use the USB cable for charging purpose, charging our mobile, we are using a USB cable. Like that, here also we have to interface the software module. The software module is run in our PC. So you have to interface the software module with the microcontroller, and you have to write some coding either in any kind of language, high-level language, C, C++, Java, Oracle, all those things. And you have to compile those codings, and you have to embed means you have to build your coding inside the microcontroller. So based on the coding and the sensor value, it can give the command to the output system when the motor is going to on, when the valve is going to open, when the valve is going to close, and when the motor is going to off, like that. Okay, so this is the overall explanation of the block diagram for automation in irrigation system. I already told you what is the need of power supply. And the power supply consists of three parts, namely transformer, rectifier, and filter. So this is a transformer. Transformer is used for reducing or increasing the voltage of an alternating current. If I use step-up transformer, what is step-up transformer? The primary side winding is less when compared to secondary side coil. Okay, primary side coil is less when compared to secondary side coil. It is nothing but step-up. That is nothing but if you are giving 120 volt, it should be step up or increase to 240 volt. That is nothing but step up transformer. What is step down transformer? The primary side coil is more when compared with secondary coil. Here, the primary side voltage 240 volt. For example, in this figure, 240 volt should be given as an input to the primary coil. It should be reduced to 120 volt. So based on our application, we have to choose either step up or step down. Okay, and this is the transformation ratio formula. What is the secondary voltage based on the number of coils in the primary side and the secondary side? The equation is Vp by Vs, it is equal to Np by Ns. Vp is nothing but primary voltage by secondary voltage. It is equal to primary coil divided by Ns is nothing but secondary coil. If I want 12 volt means the given input voltage is 240, means you have to select like this. Vs is nothing but secondary voltage is equal to 1 by 20 into 240. That is primary side coil value is 20. The secondary side coil value is 1. So we have to get 12 volt at the secondary side. So based on our requirement at the secondary side, you have to choose your windings. So this is nothing but transformation ratio. This is rectifier. First of all, you should understand that the microcontroller accepts power only in DC level. The microcontroller initiates its operation only if it receives power in the DC level. We already know that our domestic appliances, our household current should be in AC. The value is also very high, 240. The microcontroller accepts the power in DC level, and the power required for the operation of the microcontroller is only 5 volt DC. So we have to reduce the primary voltage, 240 voltage to 5 volt AC, and then you have to convert the AC into DC. So all these things can be carried out inside the power supply itself, and the power supply output can give 5 volt DC as an input to the microcontroller. That AC to DC conversion operation is done by using this rectifier. So a simple diode, this is a diode. The simple diode can act as a rectifier. It can send the signal only in forward bias. It can stop the signal in the reverse bias. For example, in AC we have two bias. One is positive bias, another one is negative bias, alternating current, positive side and negative side. So the diode can send only the positive side of the AC to the output. It can neglect the negative side. Okay, so it can convert the AC to DC. So rectifier, diode can act as a rectifier here. And the third part is nothing but a filter. That is, the capacitor can act as a filter. It should be present at the output of a power supply. Okay. Capacitor can act as a filter. It can remove the unwanted signal. The diode can convert the AC signal to DC signal, even though there are some sort of unwanted AC signal is also present in the DC level. That unwanted signal can be removed by using this capacitor. So this is the circuit diagram of the power supply. It consists of initially input supply and transformer. This is center tapped transformer, and here they are using two diodes, D1 and D2. So these two diodes can convert the AC into DC, and those DC values given as input to capacitor, it can remove all the unwanted signals, and this resistor can act as a load. Here the resistor can act as a load, but you have to connect your microcontroller means that can act as a load here. So output of the capacitor must be a perfect DC signal. So this is the operation behind the circuit diagram, and this is your hardware module. This is a simple figure of a hardware module. And then before going for hardware implementation, okay, we have to make your circuit diagram in the software side and simulate your software side circuit diagram and check whether it is properly working or not. Then only you have to go to hardware implementation. Why? Because if you implement directly in the hardware means if there is no proper output is obtained means then it is very difficult for you to find out the failure among the components. But if you are very user friendly with the software simulation, there is any mismatch occur at the output, you have to change the values easily in the software module. That's why before going to implement your circuit in the hardware, you have to make the circuit in software and verify the circuit and verify the waveform, what kind of voltage is obtained at the output, whether the power supply can produce the perfect DC like that. You have to check it, and then based on that software module result, you have to design your hardware implementation. So software simulation is better before going to implement it in hardware. Okay. So for software simulation, here I'm going to explain you about the Multisim software. This is a user-friendly software. There are several softwares available in the market to design your electronic circuit. Why I especially choose this Multisim means it is very user-friendly and it produces an efficient output. So that's why I prefer this Multisim online simulator. So in the next slide, I will give how to work with Multisim, and in the next slide, if you click this below link, then you can get a demo how to design a simple power supply by using the Multisim. Okay, so by clicking this link, you get a video demo. I will clearly explain how to pick up the components and put it in the breadboard, all those things, and how to give input to the circuit, and how to get the output, and how you are supposed to see the waveform, input waveform as well as the output waveform, and how to save your circuit diagram, and how to export your circuit diagram from the software to your PC. So all those demos should be explained clearly in my video demo. You have to click this link and you have to directly go to the video, and you have to see how a Multisim online simulator can be utilized to design a circuit diagram. So next is I'm going to explain about you the sensors. Sensor is nothing but, already told you, it can measure some parameters, and the measured parameters should be given as input to the microcontroller. So in industrial automation, sensors are input devices that provide an output signal for a specific physical quantity. So these are some of the types of sensor available. So vision and imaging sensor, temperature sensor, radiation, proximity, pressure, position, photoelectric particle, motion, metal, all those things. And level, leak, humidity, force, flow, and flame, and electrical sensor. Here I'm going to explain some sensors in the future slides. This is a vision and imaging sensor. This is the diagram. This is the snapshot of that vision and imaging sensor. This is the physical appearance. So by using this sensor, it is possible for you to detect the presence of object or color. What is the color of the object? You have to analyze that by using this sensor, and the sensitive value can be given as input to the microcontroller. Okay. And next one is temperature sensor. So this is the temperature sensor module. By using this temperature sensor, it is possible for you to detect the thermal parameter. So what is the thing present inside the temperature sensor means RTD. RTD is nothing but resistant temperature detector. Whenever there is some changes in the temperature, that should be reflected at the resistance. The resistance value, in some cases it goes higher and in some cases it goes lower. So based on the resistance value, you can find out the temperature value. Okay. So this is the temperature sensor, and this is the radiation sensor. By using this, you have to sense the presence of alpha, beta, and gamma particles. What is alpha, beta, and gamma particles? It should be one of the rays present in the electromagnetic radiations. Electromagnetic radiation consists of alpha, beta, gamma, X-rays, UV rays, visible region, infrared region, microwave region, and radio wave region. So by using this radiation sensor, it is possible for you to measure the presence of alpha, beta, and gamma particles, and it can display the values. Otherwise, it can give the output to the microcontroller for the processing purpose. And next is proximity sensor. Proximity sensors, electronic devices used to detect the presence of nearby objects. How it works means there are two IR sensors present in proximity sensor. One is white in color, another one is black in color. From the figure itself, you can understand the white color is nothing but a transmitter, and the black color is nothing but a receiver. Whenever there is object is present in front of this proximity sensor, then the transmitted wave can be get reflected from the object, and it can received by this black IR. From that, it can understand there is an object nearby this to this sensor. Okay, so based on the transmission and the received value, it can understand the type of object present in front of the sensor. So next is pressure sensor. It is an electromechanical device. It can use to measure the pressure of a gas or a liquid, and it can deliver those values, output values, to the microcontroller for processing. And this is a motion sensor. Based on this motion sensor, it is possible for you to find out the objects or obstacles or people present in front of the sensor. And this is a metal sensor. So it is an electromechanical device. It is used to sense the presence of metal in variety of situations, ranging from packages to people. And this is a level sensor. By using the sensor, it is possible for you. There is a probe present at the tip of this level sensor. Okay, by using this probe can measure the level of gas and liquid present in a tank or in a bucket like that. Okay, it can send those information to the microcontroller. Typically, the level sensor uses ultrasonic waves. For example, if it can send the ultrasonic waves, there is any liquid present, means then the liquid can act as obstacle, and ultrasonic waves get reflected by the liquid. So the ultrasonic waves once again come back to the source. So based on that, it can find out the level of the liquid. And this is the leak sensor. If there is any gas leakage, that should be measured by using this gas leak sensor. And then humidity sensor. It is very useful. Humidity and soil moisture sensor are widely used in irrigation system. So humidity sensor is used to measure the amount of water in the air, and those information can be sent to the microcontroller for processing. And this is a gas and chemical sensor. It is also used to sense the presence of gas in the atmosphere. And then force sensor. It can measure the weight of a particular object or load of a particular object, and the sensed value can be given as input to the microcontroller. This is a flame sensor. So it can detect the fire or smoke present in the environment. Those information can be sent to the microcontroller for further processing. And this is the electrical sensor. It is used to sense the current voltage of a particular circuit, and those information, measured current value information, voltage value information, are sent to microcontroller. Actually, the unit of current is amps. We already know that. The unit of voltage is volts. The unit of power is watt. Okay. And next, we are going to discuss about microcontroller. What is microcontroller? I think you are get a clear idea about sensor, what sensor can do. You are familiar with sensor, I think so. So microcontroller is a low-cost computer on a chip that can be used as an embedded system. So it is a low power requirement device that is used with the battery, and it can be used in many consumer electronics, car engines, computer peripherals, and test measurement equipment, etc. And before going to discuss about microcontroller, I want to clarify you what is microprocessor and what is microcontroller, where we use microprocessor and where we use microcontroller. I will clearly explain to you if a particular machine will do a single task. For example, washing machine. A washing machine will do only a single task. It can simply dry the cloth, washing the cloth. This is the work done by the washing machine. Okay. So it is a single task. And another example is AC. AC simply measure the temperature level of a particular room, and based on the temperature level, it can adjust its cooling effect. So this is also a single task. And next one is micro oven. Based on the food items you are supposed to give inside the micro oven, it can adjust its heat level. This is also a single task operation. So whenever a particular machine do only a single task, at those particular machines, we prefer microcontroller. Okay. Whereas whenever a particular device or equipment that should do multiple tasks means, at that time we can prefer microprocessor. Microprocessor is widely used in computer because computer can do multitask. Microprocessor is also used inside the mobile phones, because mobile phone also do several multitasking works. Sometimes you have to attend the call. In some cases, the music is played on in the mobile phone. Sometimes you have to browse the net, all those things. So several tasks can be done in a mobile. At that purpose, you are supposed to prefer microprocessor. I think you clearly understand the concept between microprocessor and microcontroller. And the second thing is microprocessor and microcontroller. Microcontroller have some inbuilt memories, whereas microprocessor doesn't have that inbuilt memories. Okay, so microcontroller consists of read-only memory, read-write memory, and flash memory. All those memories present defaultly inside the microcontroller. So it is not possible for you to interface a memory, external memory with the microcontroller. Whereas in microprocessor, it is very easy for you to interface the external memory with the microprocessor, because microprocessor doesn't have any internal memory, and more amount of coding cannot be dumped inside the microcontroller because the memory space is limited in microcontroller, whereas more amount of codings can be dumped inside the processor. It is possible because it is easy for you to interface the external memory with the processor. So I have to explain each and every point here. Microprocessor is the heart of a computer system and mobile phones. Microcontroller is the heart of an embedded system. Embedded system means in washing machine, AC, micro oven, all those things. And it is just a processor. Memory and input components have to be connected externally. Internally, it doesn't have any memories. Whereas in microcontroller, it has internal memory. And cost of the entire system increases in microprocessor, but cost of the entire system is very, very low. And power saving features is not available in microprocessor. Power saving features available in microcontroller. And microprocessor mainly used in personal computers, whereas microcontroller, I already told you, whenever a machine do a single task, at that we have to prefer the microcontroller. So examples: washing machine, micro oven, and MP3 players, as well as AC. So these are some types of microcontrollers. 8051 microcontroller. This is the IC of that 8051 microcontroller. Inside this IC, we have thousands of transistors and thousands of components are present. This is a PIC microcontroller, and this is the ARM microcontroller. ARM microcontroller, this is the evolution board. Evolution board means several pins and ports are already interfaced with this board. This is the ARM microcontroller. And next we are going to discuss about Arduino microcontroller. Why I especially choose this Arduino microcontroller means, I already told you at the last part of our content, we are going to discuss about a real-time example. So I'm going to interface a sensor with this Arduino board only. Okay, this Arduino board is user-friendly and it is an open source. It has open source software. It is easy for you to write coding in the open source software, and it is very easy for you to download the coding inside the microcontroller. Before going to explain all those things, I will tell the basic features of Arduino microcontroller. So it comes under 8051 family. Atmega 2560 microcontroller is placed at the middle of this Arduino board, and it has 54 input-output pins. I already told you evolution board means it has defaultly it has its own input-output pins. For example, in 8051. We doesn't have that input output pins. We have to develop a board, whereas in ARM and Arduino, already the board is developed. The module is already available. So it is very easy for you to interface the sensor with that particular evolution board. So it consists of 54 digital input output pins. So you have to send 54 number of sensitive values at a time directly to the Arduino, and you have to take 54 outputs and you have to connect 54 motors at a time with the Arduino. It is possible. So 16 analog inputs and 16 MHz crystal oscillator, USB connection. USB connection, I already told you that for charging purpose, we are using the USB connection. Here USB connection is used to dump your coding from the PC to the Arduino microcontroller board. A power jack, an ICSP header, and a reset button. It contains everything need to support the microcontroller, and internally it has AC to DC converter component also. Already told you, sensor sends the value and send the value in analog fashion. That analog fashion value can be converted to digital only inside the microcontroller. Microcontroller has the capacity to convert the value from AC to DC because it holds the analog to digital converter component. Okay, this is the pin configuration of Arduino Mega board. These are the pins available. This is the 8051 family microcontroller, Atmega microcontroller. It is present in the center of this Arduino Mega board. These are the pins. So you have to interface your sensor in any one of this pin. And already I told you some basic pins. This is 5-volt pin. You have to give supply to this Arduino Mega board through this adapter. And this is the USB port. You have to embed your coding by connecting a USB cable with Arduino Mega board through this particular pin. And you have to take 5-volt output from this pin. That is, you have to get the 5-volt pin. Then the board is initiated its operation, and 5-volt supply is going to be flow in this board. That 5-volt should be taken out of this board from this pin. And these are ground pins. And these are analog pins. So you have to connect the sensor only at this kind of pins. So analog pin means you have to connect your sensor with this analog pin. So it is possible for you to connect up to 15 analog pins. So it is possible to connect 15 sensor at a time with this Arduino board. And these are digital pins. So you have to connect around 15 digital sensors with this pins. And you have to take out the output from this digital pin. You have to give the sensor value to this pins, and you have to take out the output value from this pin and give it to the motor. Before the load and the Arduino, we have a relay. Relay can act as a switch. The switch can act as a bridge between the controller and the motor. So the instruction that should be given to the motor is only sent through the relay. And the future interfacing and then the future coding and then the future real-time example, I'll clearly explain how to write the coding and how to embed the coding inside the Arduino Mega board, and how to interface the relay and the sensor with this Arduino control board, how to connect your motor with the relay, and how the motor responds based on the instruction from the microcontroller. So these are also digital pins. You have to take the output. This pins also. This pin structure is seen here. Okay. So this is the pin configuration of Arduino Mega board, and this is nothing but serial clock and serial data. Whenever you are connecting a sensor, the sensor has its own clock, means that clock is interfaced with this Arduino board. Then only both can synchronize its operation. And this is serial data, so the sensor can send the data serially to the Arduino. These pins also used to connect the sensor with the Arduino.